In a world that is dominated by Mark 18s and Keymod, we're starting to see less and less unique builds out there on the airsofting field. So in today's video, I want to talk to you guys about the 5 types of airsoft guns that we're starting to see less and less out on the airsofting field. Now, this is not a video to talk about 5 rare airsoft guns. That will be a whole different video. We're talking about guns that you used to be able to find fairly often on the airsofting field that you don't anymore. What's up, airsofters? My name is Lane and welcome to the BB Warrior. We're here to help you have a better time both on and off the airsofting field, and if you enjoy videos like this, I'd love to have you join our community by hitting the subscribe button down below, and while you're at it, make sure to hit the bell icon next to it for updates when we post new videos every Tuesday and Friday here on the channel. And make sure to pick up a BB Warrior patch if you can. It helps support the channel and helps me do higher quality videos. I can get in a new recording environment besides just here, and I'll be able to do more in-depth discussions. But if you can, buy a patch to support us, thank you very much. If you can't, I completely understand. Thank you for enjoying the videos that we do here. Now, why don't we get to the number 5 spot on this countdown, and they're not going to be in any particular order, but the number 5 gun that you really just don't see that often on the airsofting field anymore is the ACR, MSK, Masada, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to call it the ACR because I remember it from the old school Call of Duty days. But you just don't see ACRs out on the airsofting field anymore like you could probably like 4 years ago. And I think that comes down to 2 things. Primarily, they're just not marketed that much in airsoft. I mean, there are 3 different models that are available right now, and throughout time there's been 4 different models because we've had the ones that are still available. You have the A&K AEG, WeTech makes a gas blowback, they call it their MSK, and then PTS themselves make a gas blowback 1 through KWA. And there used to be the PTS AEG back in the day, but those are discontinued now. And you just don't see these advertised very much. I mean, the A&K one is always on sale. So, I mean, if you're looking for a pretty good AEG right out of the box, the A&K ones, like I said, are almost always on sale no matter where you go through. And then, I mean, you never really see marketing for WeTech. Like, I've never seen a WeTech ad unless it's directly from WeTech. Like, no one like Evike or none of the retailers, I should say, really advertise WeTech guns in general. And then with the PTS one, PTS doesn't really market their guns, I've noticed. Like on any platform, I almost never see anything about their guns being released, except for like the day that they release. And I feel like PTS just hasn't marketed their ACR, or they call it the Masada, I believe, enough. And you just don't see them anymore, which is a shame because I actually got to use one of the Wii MSKs a few weeks ago. I didn't get any footage, unfortunately, but they were actually pretty cool guns. And that's coming from a guy that doesn't typically like gas blowbacks. And I thought that they were really cool. And I think part of the other reason I should say, why we don't see the ACR design much in airsoft is that the actual rifle, the actual like rifle, not airsoft gun that was being produced, kind of promised people the world, and they didn't deliver on any of those promises. And the desire to own one of these for the entire firearm community just dropped, just completely nosedived, because for those of you who are unfamiliar, they promised a price point of $1,500 or under. That is absolutely not the case. It's like double that, I believe. They promised caliber conversions, a whole bunch of different accessories for it, things like that, different barrel lengths, like SBR barrel lengths, and just none of those came to fruition. And a lot of people were very, very upset at that because that would have been really cool. And there are a lot of people who bought into these guns for things like the quick change barrel conversion, because the ACRs or the Masada, whatever you're going to call it, have a quick change barrel, which is something that you don't typically find on a rifle like that. That's typically something for a belt-fed style of rifle, and that would have been really handy for caliber conversions. However, none of those really came to fruition. The company that actually makes the firearm, while they are still in production, they also don't advertise them very much, probably because there's so much hate associated with these rifles for the promises that they made that they couldn't deliver on. But the number 5 spot on our countdown goes to the ACR style of rifle. And I wish that this was one that we'd see more on the airsofting field, because they got that like kind of futuristic look, but they're just really, really cool and ergonomic airsoft guns that unfortunately you just don't see anymore. Now, the number 4 spot on our countdown is going to go to a gun that I personally have a huge obsession over, and I wish I could get my hands on one, and that is a VFC CAC PDW. Now, this is a really, really cool design in my opinion, and as someone who's slowly getting out of the impression community and moving over towards just complete performance. It's such a lightweight and low profile package. I wish that these were more readily available. Now, I currently think that they are discontinued, which this will be the only discontinued model on the countdown. However, I think that the Knights Armament PDW just isn't as popular anymore because, one, not many companies have picked it up. I believe someone in the airsofting community has the licensing to Knights Armament Company. I don't remember who off the top of my head. I think it might be Classic Army. But besides that point of just the licensing issues, a lot of people have made guns that are very similar in size that just draw more appeal. You have like the Vector, so either the gas blowback or the AEG, whatever you prefer. You have things like the Crytek, PDW, and the SDP, and there are the Scorpion Evo. There are just a ton of different platforms out there that are in that kind of length as the PDW. However, they're just more popular because people either think that they're cooler or that it has that not an M4 draw to a lot of people. And I wish that this gun was a little bit more popular because, again, I have a huge obsession over it. I think that they're just really cool, tiny M4s. And I've been trying to like talk myself into buying one of these really close quarters ARs for CQB purposes this winter. However, I just can't find anything that I like the Knights Armament one. I think that I like it the most because it has a lot of draw in reality because it's a real firearm. But I just think they look cool. I like that wire stock on them. I like them more than like the PDW stock that the Cryteks have. And I wish that we could see these more. I wish that VFC would keep pumping them out. However, I think they are discontinued at the moment. But that is the number 4 spot on our countdown, the Knights Armament PDW that are primarily made by VFC. So we're going to go with that company. However, I know some of the kind of knockoff-ish companies made them, like D-Boys. But the PDW does take our number 4 spot here on the countdown. Now, for the number 3 spot on our countdown, I couldn't pick a single model to talk about, so we're just going to be talking about the wide variety of them in general. And the number 3 spot on our countdown goes to bullpup rifles entirely. Now, I think the reason for that is that one of the most prominent bullpups that are out there is the L85. And there are a lot of people that think that the L85 is a very bad rifle, and the A1 was a very bad rifle. However, now that H&K has made the A2, the L85 is a pretty good firearm from what I've heard people say. I've never had the chance to shoot one myself, obviously, but I think that there's a lot of stigma, at least here in the US, against bullpups, and there are some things that do take getting used to, and I've wanted to do a separate video on bullpup rifles once I get some time in with some more models of them, but I find them really fun, and I find their compactness but having that long barrel length, because the barrels start so far back, I find that to be really advantageous in airsoft. And unless you're dealing with gas blowback, which most people do AEGs, you don't have to worry about firing them from the left shoulder, which is something that's really cool, because if you did that on like a real L85, you're gonna knock your teeth out. So I think the bullpups are really cool. However, they kind of have a stigma for being iffy here in the US. And plus, because our service rifle here is the AR style platform, I think that people are just a little hesitant towards them because they are different. But there are a lot of varieties of them here on the airsofting market. I think G&G makes the L85. You have like the APS UAR, which I believe is their own independent design. Elite Force makes the Tavor through Ares. There's the AUG, which is made by a bunch of different companies, which I'd like to try out an AUG one day, to be honest. They are such a cool and aesthetically pleasing gun to myself. But I do like the APS UAR. I've gotten some trigger time in with that, and that's probably going to be the gun that I base my bullpup video on when it comes out. Like I said, I'd like to get some experience with some other platforms. I think that L85s are really cool as well, even though they do kind of have a stigma here in the US for being bad guns. But yeah, I think that part of the reason why they're just not popular anymore is that there is such a stigma against them because of how they are designed, at least here in the US. Now, this could be completely different in a country that issues them out. I mean, I don't know if there's airsoft in Israel, but I'd imagine that the Tavor would be a pretty popular model there if they have airsoft there, or in England, Great Britain area, UK, that's where I'm looking for, where the L85 is used. I bet they're a little bit more popular. But I just live in America. If you live in one of these countries that actually issues out a bullpup as your standard rifle, how popular are they compared to like the M16 if your country doesn't issue those out? Make sure to let me know down in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you guys about that. But yeah, I think that the number 3 spot on this countdown goes to bullpups because they really just, people find them kind of weird. And I think they're really advantageous for airsoft. And I mean, I thought they were weird, but once I gave them a try, I fell in love. I might actually pick one up myself. The number 2 spot on our countdown goes to the only pistol on the countdown, but I thought that I should include at least one pistol, and that goes to the M9 variant of guns. Now, I think why the M9 isn't doing as good as it used to anymore is it's slowly becoming an outdated design. There are other pistols doing better than the M9 in the airsofting world. And at the moment, there aren't too many options for M9s, for quality M9s that you can choose from. I don't believe KJW makes them anymore. If they do, they're a little bit hard to get. You have the KWA one, which I think is the best M9 on the market. KWA makes a really snappy and really crisp M9. However, it has some trigger spring issues. I've heard of those breaking on like almost every KWA, and they're kind of hard to find. And then you have the Elite Force one made by KWC. However, I think that, again, part of the reason why these aren't as popular anymore is that there are other guns just eclipsing them in the market. I mean, everyone has an obsession over Glocks in airsoft, and I don't think that's ever going to die because of how rare they are. I think that's part of the reason why people want them is because Glocks are rare, but at the same time, I find Glocks really comfortable. I find working on them to be an absolute pain, especially once you start dealing with the hammer in them. But everyone likes Glocks, and now that you can get a WeTech one shipped to the US for like $80 to $100, why wouldn't you? And if you don't like the Glock platform and you are more of like a 1911 guy, there's the Elite Force 1911 TAC, which is a beautiful pistol for $120 price tag. So I think that just in the pistol market, there just really isn't anything that the M9 can compete on. For aftermarket support, there's guns that have way more parts like the Glock. For just a cheap, affordable to run pistol, there's 1911 TAC. And on top of that, the M9 is being phased out by the US Army. It's being replaced by the SIG P320 eventually, which I think that that's slowly drawing people away from it. And I think that the M9 is going to kind of come more of an impressionist gun, like if it's good for your impression. But yeah, you just don't see them very often anymore. There are just other designs that were made sooner that people enjoy. I mean, there are an ever growing amount of aftermarket support for other guns, and you just don't really see that many upgrade parts for the M9 now. And people are really starting to like those tricked out pistols, not just people who are using high kappas. I think that it's a shame. I'm not a particular fan of the M9. I don't like how they feel. I like the KWA one because it shot fantastic, but all the other ones I just haven't been too crazy about because my hand just doesn't fit to them very well. But the number 2 spot on this countdown goes to the M9. The number 1 spot on our countdown today, guys, is going to be the M16A4. And this rifle, I can see why people are dropping it because it's very long, it's pretty unwieldy, there's a lot of weight, especially if you have one with like the CAC rail on there. And I think that these designs in general and full stocks and things like that are just being eclipsed out entirely by the shorter SBR style builds or your 14.5 inch M4s. M16s are very, very big guns, and they can be kind of obnoxious to carry at times, and especially if you're at a field that is not just all outdoor woodsy, like if there's buildings and things like that, you're going to notice that barrel length and that full stock, and it's going to be obnoxious to clear buildings with. And the airsofting market, as well as the real firearms market, a lot of marketing is moving towards those shorter, lighter rifles. I mean, there is a reason why KeyMod and M-Lock are just so popular nowadays, and that's because they are significantly lighter than just your standard rail system, because there's so much metal that is just taken off of your front handguard, and that means that there's less metal there that is going to be, that your supporting arm has to hold. So when you're aiming down your rifle, this hand has a lot less that it has to worry about. I mean, there's less material up there. I can't think of any other way to say it. And on something like the M16, even if you have like the plastic heat shield style handguard, they can get kind of heavy and kind of obnoxious because they do have such a long barrel on them. And for a lot of players, that's just unacceptable because they either play indoor half the year like myself, or they're just in an outdoor field that has a lot of buildings. And having to deal with that length can be very obnoxious, and especially for guys like myself who are built a little bit smaller. Now, I'm sure if you're some like 6'2" like tank of a person, you can handle an M16 like it's nothing, but for scrawnier guys like myself, they can be a little bit unwieldy. And because barrel length doesn't matter as much in airsoft as it does for a real firearm, you don't lose too much unless you're going for like a super dedicated build, going from like a 16-inch barrel down to a 14.5 or even like a 12-inch, 10-inch barrel. I mean, you're going to have pretty similar groupings because we are playing airsoft. We're not shooting real firearms here. And it's going to matter more on your hop up and how that's done than your actual barrel length, and the quality of your barrel is going to matter more. So I think that the M16 is just slowly being whittled away by lighter and better designs. And on top of that, no one really makes them anymore. I mean, G&G makes the Top Tech. I think KWA still makes a full-size M16, but who buys KWA AEGs anymore? But I think that it's just being eclipsed by lighter and better designs that are more suited for airsoft. However, I want to know what you guys think about my picks for this countdown. Do you still see any of these guns fairly common on the airsofting field and you think I'm wrong? Or do you think that there's a gun that is more forgotten that you think that should have replaced a different gun on the countdown? Make sure to let me know down in the comments below. Again, I wasn't trying to make this like a rare airsoft gun sort of video, because that could have just been like Marushan and old TM guns, but I wanted to do guns that were popular only a couple of years ago that really lost their popularity recently. But that is going to do it for this video, guys. If this was your first time here and you enjoyed the video, I'd love to have you join our community by hitting the subscribe button down below, and while you're at it, make sure to hit the bell icon next to it for updates when we post new videos every Tuesday and Friday here on the channel. If you haven't already, make sure to check us out on social media. Links will be down in the description below for Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. This has been Lane from the BB Warrior talking about my 5 airsoft guns that you really just don't see very often on the field anymore. And I will see you all next time.